distorts everything, because like when you take the letter E and you equate that to the word feelings, you kind of mess up the motion of things. So remove the E and keep moving. That's what you do.
Spitting that E to the IMP. He's spitting that E to the IMP. He's spitting that E to the IMP. Ain't nothing but pimpin' these days. He's spitting that E to the IMP. He's spitting that E to the
Welcome back to another episode of Elevator Dialogue here on the Unkle Junior Network. I am the Unkle Junior, and on the panel today, we have Antoine, the other artist, Christopher, Victor, Staff Sergeant Viziant, Dustin, Staff Sergeant Kavanaugh, and Coach Dwayne, Sergeant First Class Dwyer. Those were all our ranks, when we were in the military. So in case you didn't know, now you know. We'll be talking about the military tonight, more specifically the Army, because 4 of the 5 people up here have served some time, over 10 years, all of us up here. So we just wanted to say that. Also, shout out to the unks, the nephews, and women who support the channel and the show. And let's not forget about our servicemen out there. We salute you and thank you for your service. And shout out to the most elevated chat on YouTube. Hey, before I even get into it, I want to give Coach, he don't know it, I'm about to put him on the spot real quick and give him an opportunity to shout out his. All right, so look, this Friday, in case y'all didn't know, now you know, Coach gonna be live Friday night. We have a good topic. I'm gonna let him talk about it, but I want him to plug it. And then after that, I'm gonna have Vic gonna plug his show for next Tuesday. So there you go.
Right, I wasn't expecting this. So Friday
Because
at
if I would have asked y'all would have been like, "Nah, man, I'm good, man.
You're
I
right.
ain't gonna," you know what I mean? So,
hey man, we're just humble like that.
I know.
So Friday on the Empowering Perspective podcast, I do my monthly conversation with entrepreneur and author Miss Onita Simpson, and we're going to be talking about reframing common myths about men and women. And the idea is just to kind of like destroy some of that underlying thinking that may contribute to some of the problems that would exist in our communities today. So it's going to be a great conversation. We're looking forward to it. She's excited. I'm excited. And apparently there are a number of people who are already excited about having this conversation. So tune in, 8 p.m. We'll be on Facebook. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. But again, if you go to the Empowerment Perspective podcast and then just subscribe, you would definitely get a notification when we go live.
If you get a chance, drop the link, Coach, in the chat. Vic, Code Talk, Tuesdays, 7 p.m.
Code Talk, 7 p.m. Tuesdays, Central Standard Time. And we're doing it live out of
6 p.m. Central.
6 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
Doing it live out of a location called Create. That's where I'm doing it from right now. And it's located in Killeen on 1315 North 8th Street, like in the heart of the downtown area. And we invite people to come out, sit and have a good conversation, get you some food while you're down here. We got some food on site, and we just getting ready to open up a local spot to bring the community together, do some networking, have some exclusive membership opportunities, and bring entrepreneurs together and do some community, basically some community introductions to each other, because we live in a place where a lot of people are surrounded by talent next door and they shop all over the place, but it's probably right down the street. So I feel like it'd be a good space to bring something unique to it, so we can do like speed networking, like instead of speed dating, have people exchange business cards, introduce themselves, what they're doing, kind of like what we're doing right now. And, have that in a person feel, give elevated dialogue some exposure. Everybody else's platform up here, more exposure, bring, equity to a larger part of the conversation. I talk about group economics all the time, and this is like right in the wheelhouse. We get to promote all of our brands. We get to have a center of gravity for it, and I'm just using my resources so I can, anchor the wolf pack. You know what I'm saying, from where I'm supposed to be doing my job.
Hey, I like it, man. So you see what those guys got going on. Antoine, Dust, we all got something going on behind the scenes over here. This is what we do part time, but we enjoy doing it. We take time out of our schedules to, bring something to you, bring our experiences, bring our, past and different things like that we have done to try to help, whoever may be watching this. We all got together. We all understand that no one of us can do this alone, but collectively, we all have, a piece in the puzzle that we can all, put together and create something great. So I'm looking forward to the show today. I kind of want to start with why we joined the military. We all four of us have been in the military, so I kind of want to go around the horn. I'll start with real quickly because we've talked about it before in the past, kind of sort of why we joined the military. So I'm going to talk about kind of want to talk about why we joined and how much time we served. And if you want to go into some of the duty stations, that's fine as well. But I joined in 94. I joined pretty much because I was just trying to get away from things. I'm not saying that things were necessarily bad, but I just didn't feel like there was really any way or anything that my city had for me to offer. So I was just like, well, ain't nothing for me here. I didn't really feel like people in my neighborhood, not necessarily neighborhood, the people that I saw were really doing anything positive. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just left. I just ran. I just got away. That along with, some personal maybe some family situations and stuff like that, that maybe I didn't want to necessarily deal with. So just running and going away was a good opportunity for me. So I went away. I did 3 years. I was a combat engineer. I did all my time at Fort Carson for 3 years. And then I got out. The reason why I got out was because I thought that, well, here's what happened. It was time to re-enlist, and I didn't have a high enough GT score. So they was like, you need to raise your GT score, and then you can change your job. So I raised my GT score. I went down there to re-enlistment and was like, hey, I'm on a new job. And they like, well, you in the understrength job or understrength MOS or whatever. So they was like, you got to stay here pretty much, or pick another understrength MOS, which was a whole bunch of other stuff that I didn't want to do. So I was like, I felt like I got screwed. Like I said, I felt like I got screwed. So I left the army. I got out. 3 years later, I ended up coming back in. The reason why I got back in was partly because I worked with some guys, and they was always talking about how they wish they would have stayed in, how they would have been retired, yada yada yada. Some of this stuff got to me. I was working on my job. I couldn't progress anymore. I felt like, you know, people was holding me back. So I went back into the military, planned to do 5 years. End up doing another 17. I was an air traffic controller. I was stationed in Korea. I was into 2 tours in Iraq. I was stationed in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, Fort Hood, Texas. Where else? I can't even remember. Fort Bragg. Yeah, I retired from Fort Bragg. Yeah, man, that's that. I get disability, so hey, I forget stuff sometimes. It is what it is. But that's kind of sort of, why I joined, and a little bit about, the initial part of my career. So whoever wants to go next or can go.
Well, I joined the National Guard first. I had a desire for, like adventure at some point, but like, I graduated high school. I went to college for a little bit. Um, didn't, I just didn't see the same value in college at the time, than I did in being interested in, going after something, getting my own resources and being able to sustain myself. I wanted to be self-sufficient, you know what I'm saying, and be out on my own the right way. And by the right way, I mean, you don't want to leave and then have to come back home. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to leave and be gone. So I joined the military so I could have some additional resources and I came in as a 31 Romeo, which later on got reclassed to 25 Quebec. And then that was in, like digital comms, tactical comms. And then I crossed over to military intelligence in 2006. And, it gave me a plethora of opportunities. I went from being out in the desert on like 10-digit grid hilltops in the middle of nowhere to, working alongside other strategic minded people that conduct operational missions. You know what I'm saying? So I got a lot of real world experience in a lot of different capacities. And then I got out after 12 years because I kind of felt like I could do more in the civilian sector. And I became a contractor, and I worked with 5 or 6 different intelligence contractors. Then I worked in Afghanistan for about 4 years cumulatively, and then I got back from Fort. I got back to Fort Hood because that's where I got out of the Army at, and I taught soldiers on intelligence systems on West Fort Hood for about 2 years, and then I did an additional year in North Fort Hood, and as a contractor where I taught network systems for intelligence systems too. During that time frame, I was stationed at Fort Stewart first from '01 to '04, and from '04 to '06, I was in Korea. From '06, kind of like mixed into '09 is like when I was at Huachuca for a little while. Then I went to Hood. And I was at Hood for a while, and I deployed to Iraq a couple of times from there. Got out in 2013, went straight to Afghanistan, worked there for about 17 months, and then took a couple of breaks here and there. But finished my time as an intelligence contractor in 2017. Man, I traveled a lot and saw a lot and did a lot. So which brings us to present day. And in that course of time, I've done some other individual efforts such as write books, podcasts, and it's given me a lot of resources, what I'm saying, to do what I'm doing presently, especially in real estate.
Smooth, brother, smooth.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Why did I join? So let's just say initially I did it for the college money, to be honest with you. I did the whole National Guard thing as well back in 1991. And it was my plan to just, take the college money, finish college and whatever. But I will be honest with you, I was not in the right headspace to even finish college. And so that's when I decided to go full time, which was in 1995. And first duty station was, let me back up. My MOS was 13 Fox. I was an artilleryman. So my first duty station was Fort Stewart. And I realized I didn't like the Army. I stayed there for 3 years, man. I said, I'm getting out. Forget this. I didn't like it. So I got out and I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, man. And I worked as a manager at a foot action for like 9 months. And I said, I don't like this either. I'm going back in the Army. So no joke, man. I'm not making this up. So 95 to 98, I was at Stewart. I moved to Charlotte in 98, and then 99, I was back in the Army. And at that point, man, I decided to make it a career. I decided to get good at it because when I was in the first time, I couldn't change my MOS. They said, you got to start MOS. We need you. And then plus you got a bonus. So, that's really what it was. When I came back in, I said, you know what, I'm going to become good at what I was doing. And that's pretty much what I focused my energy and efforts to. And so that's what took me to Fort Hood in 1999. And I stayed at Hood, to be honest with you, from 1999 to 2012 off and on. So I went from 4th ID, we did the OIF 1 thing, came back, then I went to the NCO Academy. I stayed at the NCO Academy for about a year. I made Song First Class, and then I came down on orders to go to Bragg. And the commandant asked me, did I want to go to Bragg? I was like, absolutely not. And then so I ended up going to Korea, right? So I went to Korea, came back to Fort Hood, and that's when I picked up the regiment, 3rd ACR, and I stayed in the regiment for like 5 years, and then went back to Korea. I'm sorry, went back to Iraq, and then came back. And then the regiment went back on another deployment. I ended up staying rear detachment because my wife at that time had a illness that I needed to stay back for. So I stayed rear detachment. And then when they came back, I PCS'd to, I was supposed to go to Div West, but they deleted my assignment. And I ended up going to, I'm sorry, I was supposed to go to Div West, but they deleted my assignment. I ended up going back to Korea. And then from Korea, I thought I was going to Div West. They gave it away again. So I ended up going to Shaw Air Force Base. And so Shaw Air Force Base as well was my last duty station. And, the best duty station was last. Like Shaw Air Force Base was terrible. But going back and forth to Al-Udeid Air Base was awesome, right? That's the best deployment I've ever been on. Like, it was just amazing. And so I retired in 2015, man, and been pretty much enjoying the retirement life ever since then. So just to get after it, why did I join? There was nothing home for me. I got tired. Like I said, I wasn't in the right headspace when it came down to being in college, and I just wanted to do something, do something with myself. My old man asked me not to do it, so I did it.
Hey, I heard that.
Absolutely humbled by all of your all stories and why you joined. So I joined in 06. I graduated high school in 2003. Started college. Wasn't for me. I stuck it out probably a lot longer than I should have and spent a lot more money on it than I really should have. I should have ripped that Band-Aid off a lot sooner. Started working. A friend of mine, his dad owned a series of car dealerships, and so as naturally would be, he got all of his drinking buddies jobs. So we all started selling cars. Some of us moved different places. I learned a lot about a lot of different things, but I just I don't want to spend 30 years here to just retire with a gold watch. And when I was a kid, fascinated with the military early on at a young age, and I saw it as the military for me was an escape of the reality that I had kind of set myself in. I pseudo dropped out of college. I wasn't putting in the effort that I needed to there. The job wasn't what I thought it should be. I had nothing marketable, and I was like, if I go to the military, I can do something different. And so a lot of my friends that joined the National Guard and Marine Reserves and Air National Guard and things like that out of high school, they were all back home doing the exact same things that they were doing. It just one weekend a month, they got to go drill or whatnot, but they were still dirtbags and still, behaving as such. So I was like, you know what? I don't know anybody that's complained about this active duty thing. At that point in time, I'd only known one person that had jumped on the active duty bandwagon, and it was a neighbor who had joined the Marine Corps and just disappeared, and I never heard from the guy again. So I was like, that sounds cool. Let's do that. So got in at a good time, got a good bonus, went air traffic control, mostly just because my recruiter was really interested in air traffic control for some reason. And he kept talking about it. He's like, dude, this is an awesome job. You get to do this. You get to do this. It's super technical. You'll learn a lot of cool stuff or whatever. I was like, well, I just kind of want to go shoot guns and drink beer. And he's like, well, the infantry's full right now, so you got to do something else. And I was like, all right, well, let's go do this ATC thing for a minute and see what happens. And so 10 years in, I deployed a couple of times, Iraq in 2010, Afghanistan in 2014. Bounced from Hood to Rucker to Bragg to worked at the 18th Airborne Corps Non-Commissioned Officer Academy for a bit. The reason I got out at 10, everybody's like, why? You were halfway done. The Army writes everything down. The Army puts everything on paper. And I sat down and I looked at all the career paths in my MOS that I could take. I could go warrant. I could go this route. I could go this route. And everything that I read, I just didn't want to do any of it. It was just repetition. My next move was a sergeant first class. And if I stayed in as a sergeant first class, I was going to go right back to or leave one line unit, go to another line unit, and pick up a platoon sergeant spot. I'd already done the NCO Academy thing, so I had fulfilled the instructor role portion. It would have been redundant for me to go drill. It was all the same. I could go warrant and then I'd end up back in a line unit or back in an MTOD unit, and trying to earn my second dot, and it's just none of it sounded appealing. So on a whim, I applied to the FAA. I got picked up and initiated my exit from the military, and then that sucked. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I, I I may know a little something about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Junior and I went round and round. We weren't
Yeah.
when we were in the military, we weren't best of buds. But
No.
there was a lot of dynamics pushing that stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that we were both adult enough to move past it after the military,
Yeah.
and actually become good friends.
Yeah.
Somebody I'd absolutely respect and am
Yeah.
proud to call a friend.
The reality, I couldn't stand him, like while he was in, because like he worked for me, and he was like, I didn't understand it until after I had got out. You know, what I mean, good, bad, or different. You know, he had felt like he had done his time, and he had felt like that he had served his country, and he felt like, you know, that he wanted to get out. And me being a sergeant first class, I have a hierarchy too. So we have a chain of command. So I have to, in a lot of situations, as long as it's not immoral or unethical or anything like that, I got to follow what the top says. So that meant I was in the middle between Kavanaugh and the boss. So it was so it was awkward, and like I said, I was frustrated with him a lot because he was just wanting to get out, and he felt like it was his time to get out, and that we were trying to hold him back. And I was kind of stuck in the middle. And I get it because I understood why he wanted to get out. And I also understood it from the top's point of view as well. But it wasn't really until I got out and really looked at it, I was like, man, this man is trying to live his life. And if he served his country good, bad, or different, even if you sign a contract, I know it's not what the military says, but I think that at a certain point, there maybe should be some leniency as far as people getting all their contracts or whatever like that, especially if they have better job opportunities where you may double, triple, quadruple your money. You know what I'm saying? So to have a soldier stay in the military when they can go and quadruple their money just doesn't seem, you know,
What
doesn't
what
seem like
junior
the
what
thing to
junior's
do.
referring to is that at the time that I was leaving the military, they had a 6 month reduction of contract, and it was just an application thing. And then, granted, 6 months is not a big deal, but you could apply if approved, you could get out 6 months early. That's all I was asking for. And soldiers junior to me had applied for it in the same MOS in the same career field and instant approval. They made me work for it.
And then one day we was on Facebook, and I'm like, "Yo, man, man, that was a great conversation, but we'll keep that between us, man."
Yeah,
Um,
that's just for us, man. Nobody else needs to know
yeah,
about that. That's ours. We got to keep
yeah,
something for
yeah,
ourselves.
that's us. So, and look where we are now, man. It's that's code right there, ain't that right, Vic? But hey, man, hey, look, here's what we here. We here for like the military stuff, right? Some more stuff. So, look, basic training. What y'all think about basic training? I watched a basic training video the other day, and it was good. It was bad. How'd y'all like basic?
Um,
Hold on, real quick, Antoine. You got anything? I know we up here talking. I don't want to leave you out.
No, I'm listening to you guys. You guys are the ones with experience. I did my little homework and wrote down a few things that I thought were interesting about the Army and why some people join and whatnot, and I agree with.
Okay.
That's it. I'll just wait till you guys have all your explanations till that
All right.
time comes. Yeah.
yeah.
Code Antoine. Antoine on code
Hey,
tonight.
did you see him? He is on code.
I don't know. Hey, I can't speak about what I don't know.
Hey, look, you see, look at that. Hey, that is a breakthrough. You know, that is a breakthrough, right?
All the other stuff I know about.
Look at the timestamp. Look.
I'm in Vietnam territory right now.
Hey, I'll jump in on the basic training thing real quick.
Go ahead.
I loved basic training. I thought I was gonna hate it. The worst part about basic training for me was reception. Reception lasted about a week. We sat around. We'd march to eat, and then we do nothing. That was the worst part. Once I got to basic training, and I had somebody telling me what to do with my time every minute of every day, it blew by. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, I'm sure everybody else had their own experiences, but I excelled at basic training. I was a really good student. They kept me busy, they kept me fed, they kept me occupied, and I didn't have any trouble there. I loved it. Them Some other people didn't feel the same way, but basic training for me, that was probably my favorite time in the military.
It was fun, man. Like it was a new experience every day. So uh, you got a chance to really sit back and read people because you get people from all over the place, and you have to adapt. You know what I'm saying? To living with multiple, you know, people from all over the place and different cultures and stuff. So you kind of get an instant dose of that like right away. You know, and you start being able to appreciate the experience a little bit more. So basic was fun for me. I don't have a negative experience about it. It sucked when it was cold, but it just depends on what time of year you go. I think.
I went, just for the record, I went to Benning in August. I showed up to Fort Benning, Georgia in August. And what was nice about Benning is you knew it was going to be freezing cold at night, freezing cold in the morning, and it was going to rain every day at 4:00.
Yeah, I went to Fort Jackson in like late September, so it rolled right into Exodus and everything, and it was a lot of ice and snow at some point. It was like more sleet than anything, but like I never thought I'd be running outside in some shorts, like with sleet falling down, like repeating cadence. And it happened, So you just see some weird things, like the first time you see like a wild turkey on the range somewhere, and you're like, what? And they shut things down, or places where it's prone to catch fire. You start paying attention. It's like the military is pretty resourceful. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of precautions are put in place in order just to train troops. A lot of measures.
So yeah, whatever. I'm gonna tell the truth. Basic training sucked. No, I'm joking. So let's be honest. It wasn't like a vacation. Let's just call a spade a spade. No one, but I don't think no one went there expecting a vacation experience, right? For me, I played football, and fortunately, I got caught up in that situation to where I was split option. And so a split option, I went to basic training between my 11th and 12th grade year. And then after basic training, I went back to high school and I finished my senior year. So some of the threats some of the threats that we would get about being recycled, that didn't apply to me because I know I was going back to school. So that, mentally that didn't bother me. I was already in good physical conditioning because, like I said, I played football. So outside of that, all of that other stuff, it was just like trying not to laugh as somebody else is getting cursed out to my left. And that was the hardest thing for me. If I'm just being honest, the hardest thing for me was not laughing. And so a lot of times, yeah. Let's just say when I left basic training, I was in better physical condition than I was when I went. It was just one of those things. But I don't think it was a bad experience. I think it was, we kind of expected it to suck, but it didn't suck as bad as we thought it was going to suck. And because like most of us, we're pretty headstrong people anyway. So, we're going in expecting something to be terrible, and we're going, oh, this isn't that bad. And then you got somebody else who's over here in a corner probably crying or something of that nature. So we're kind of like trying to, help them out or whatever. I'm just telling the truth, man. I'm going to tell them what they need to hear.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Somebody might be over there crying because they miss a girlfriend or something of that nature. And, we're trying to help them out, so forth and so on. But again, for me, I got to be honest. The hardest thing was just not laughing at other people who just would fold under the pressure of somebody being in their face and yelling at them.
Hey,
Go ahead. Big facts.
Real quick, right before I joined, I read this. I found this book at the library. It was about making Navy SEALs, and I'm like, well, hell, I'm going basic training. Like, I'm not about to be a SEAL. Let me read this book. So I read through, and one of the things that stuck with me is the guy that did it had a 30-year career of training Navy SEALs, and he talked about all the stuff that they had to do that was theater, right? It wasn't, none of it was real, right? Like the angers, we're not actually mad, we're not actually this, we're not actually that. And I'm reading this thing and I'm like, oh, well, it's just a scenario that you guys are creating. So I went to basic training with that mindset. I'm like, this is, a lot of this stuff is theatrics. So early on, about the first week, we're doing all this DNC training, and it's Georgia, it's August. I mean, just sweats rolling from everywhere. I'm sweating from places I didn't even know I had sweat glands. So we're standing in formation real fast. I try to like do the quick wipe, because it's the sweat's dropping down to my eyes, burning my face. So I try to do the quick wipe, and one of these drill sergeants sees me, and this guy, his name was Ramos, and he was about 5'6". Now I'm a 6 foot tall individual, so 5'6". This dude comes running up at me, and he's looking up at me, and he's yelling at me. He's right in my face, and all he can't see my eyes because the bill of his hat is pecking me right in the nose. So he can't see my eyes. He just sees my mouth, and I effed up. I smiled at this man. I'm like, and I caught myself smiling at this man, and I'm like, I'm about to die. This dude's he's gonna ball me up, and he's gonna kill me. And he kind of takes 2 steps back. He looks at me, he nods, and he takes off. And after that, he paid me back because he made me platoon guide like the following week. He's like, you're gonna smile at me, I'm gonna give you some shit to frown about, pal. But yeah, it was a game. And I figured it out early on, and from then on out, it was a blast.
See, I didn't get that memo. I didn't know what to expect in basic training, man. And so when we went, probably like Coach did, we went to reception first. Now I think the drill sergeants pick them up, and they with drill sergeants to the day when we went to reception first. So we in reception, we got to use the payphone, in the evening, the daytime. Go to chow, get to do a little DNC. Ain't nothing bad. Everything cool. Get to see other girls, and everybody's around. And then all of a sudden, man, them jokers like, we got on the truck. We got on the cattle truck. And if you don't know what a cattle truck is, that's exactly what it is. It's a truck that got a metal thing in the back, and they use it to move cattle from place to place. They load us up in the truck, and then all of a sudden, I'm sitting there. You got a little bag on the front, you got one on the back, you got your civilian bag, you got like 3 bags and everything. And they come banging on the truck, talking about, get off the truck, yelling and screaming. I'm like, man, what is going on? Like, I had no idea what was going on. And man, I had this little short. I was 12 Bravo. So I had this, combat engineer. So I had this little short drill sergeant named Todd Burnett. I never forget him, man. Little short dude. I know he ended up making command sergeant major and all that stuff. So shout out to Todd Burnett whenever you see this. This little dude was a stud, man. I think he had Napoleon complex. Man, he was shorter than me, but he was a stud, man. We been hearing him like 4 o'clock in the morning in there lifting weights and stuff, man. We out there getting CS gas and stuff. He telling us, like, wipe that stuff off your face, privates. You know what I mean? After they had already told us, don't touch your face. You know what I mean? So basic training sucked. It was fun at the same time. I got my first helping of dip. You know what I mean? I dipped for the first time. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, man. It was cold in the wintertime. You know what I mean? They like, hey, man, the boys like, hey, you had some dip. And I dipped. And it was, first time I got a little buzz. But I ain't never did nothing like that before. So basic training was it was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. It sucked. But it was fun at the same time. It's it's something that I don't think anybody you'll ever forget it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So I come from a military family, so I kind of got like a little bit of the briefing, but you got to realize all of their information is like from the 70s. So it's like it's old school information, like drill sergeants are beating people up and all kind of stuff like that. Like, yeah. I'm like, that doesn't happen anymore. So, of course, I validate the information through my recruiter. So I used to go see my recruiter like every day because he was cool. And, we would just sit and talk, and he would tell me like what to expect. So I get the basic training. He said, one of the things he said, you don't want to be the center of attention. He said, just go and blend in, be that guy. He said, don't be too quiet, don't be too shy. You know what I'm saying? So that was my motto. And so I never forget, man, one night we're in our bunks trying to go to sleep. And I don't know what it was, man. Like everybody was just acting crazy. It's like they thought it was like a slumber party. It was up just making all types of noise, running through the bay and whatnot. And I see somebody come out the bathroom. Now, granted, my bunk was right there looking at the bathroom. And so I don't know why I did it. I'm looking and I said, you know what? I'm tired of this. So I reached back and I grabbed my pillow and I threw it. And I hit the dude, and the dude fell back into the bathroom. And I see him do this right here and put his hat on. I said, oh man, I'm gonna die. So like seriously, he took us all outside and we must have like did iron mics and steam engines for like an hour straight. So I had a mark on me from that time going forward. So whatever I did, I got the worst of it. When we did the Victory Tower, you know, the rope going across the rope, how you got to lay across it and pull yourself across. They grabbed it and they swung it around, right? So I ended up having to fall off of it. When we went into the gas chamber, like everybody, like this gonna be a piece of cake. Y'all gonna be fine. Y'all gonna be fine. So you know we're nervous because it's gas. I ain't never, never did that before. So we go in the gas chamber, and next thing you know, I feel a hand in my chest, and it just held me right there, and it say, "Take the mask off." So I had to break the seal on my mask, and they made me stay there and inhale. And he held me right there. He said, "Breathe." And I was like, I can't breathe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming outside, man. I'm just coughing and gagging and all kind of stuff. And I mean, stuff is coming from everywhere and stuff just flying everywhere. And I'm throwing everything. And yeah, man, it was just, they made it extra hard because I made that one mistake. So when I got that target on my back, brother, it was all over from that point on. But you know what? All of them was cool because after graduation, I ended up running into, like, out of all of them, it's only one I remember. His name was Drill Sergeant Coleman. And I can't make this up. Like, he was the only dude, like, instead of wearing his patrol cap like everybody else, his patrol cap was always like this. Like, seriously. He's in formation. He's the only guy with his patrol cap turned to the side. Cool as a fan. We ran into each other at Fort Stewart. And, man, we just connected at the PX. And, man, we just started talking like we were, cool back on the block. And that's one of the things I loved about drill sergeants because they realized that it was just a job. Once we got outside of basic training, man, we all were tight and we became cool. So, just don't become that person.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, that gas chamber, I thought I was going to die. Like, that was like one of the worst feelings in my life. And I've seen people who it don't affect them at all. Man, I had snot coming up. I had blood coming up. I was coughing up all this stuff. I didn't like it at all.
I think if I had a hole, something came out of it. I'm telling you, I'm not playing, man. It just like they made me inhale and exhale in the gas chamber. All it takes is one, and you're already coughing. And I'm coughing, and they're still making me breathe. And I'm like, "Come on, man! This is I got to go, man. I got to go." And I like turn me loose. I already bent over. I done spread my arms. I said, "Turn me loose. I got to go." And it was terrible.
They did us dirty. They our gas chamber was like in the second week of us being there, and I remember getting off the bus. I've got boot shock. I can't feel my big toes. I got blisters. I got all this stuff. I step off the bus to go to the gas chamber, and not 2 steps off the bus, friggin' right in the dirt, face first, just tripped over a root, feet hurt, everything else. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably the baddest it's gonna be today. I was wrong, but it was the gas chamber. No, not for me, man. Never again.
Yeah. I didn't like that at all, man. Like, I hated it.
Man,
Vic, who all been to Korea? Vic, you been to Korea?
Yep, been in Korea 04 to 06.
Justin, you been to Korea?
I did not do Korea.
Oh,
No Korea.
Coach, you went to Korea, didn't you?
Twice.
What year were you there?
2005 and 2012.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we was like there at some point in the same window.
Yeah.
I was in all of 14. What's crazy is I think that, and now I remember that's how me and Coach really connected because we got connected through a mutual friend, and our paths were similar. We did 3 years, got out, both moved to Charlotte. We actually was in Charlotte at the same time. Like we just did 18. I was like, not 18, but what'd you say?
I was there in 1998.
Yeah, I was there I got out in 97. I was there from 97 to 2000. Then I went back in too.
Yeah.
Did you switch MOSs or you kept the same one?
No, I kept the same MOS.
I switched.
Yeah.
And then all 3 of us was at Hood at the same time. I think we had already talked about all of that in different units. So it's crazy like how you like cross paths with people. Even though the military is big, it's still a really small community.
I think all 4 of us were at Hood at the same time.
Oh yeah? When was you at? I was in Hood pretty much from 2010 through 2000. What was that?
I was there 08 to
I can't even
10.
remember no more. No, I was there 04 through 10.
Yeah, I was there 2008 to 2010.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
we all four was there at the same time. Didn't
I'm,
know.
I'm still here.
Well, you must have been Cameron. You must have been in you was on the other side. You was with the horse. You was on the calf.
Yeah, I was Cav, second and 227th.
Oh, so I was 4ID. Vic, you was 4ID.
Yep.
You
And
were with Rada Bromdat and the rest of them over there. They're towards
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, we always in. They was in. Yeah, they was in. Yeah, we all in the same company.
yeah,
Bromdat's good people's. I think she's still recruiting up in New York.
Oh yeah. Last time I saw her was in Korea. We won't talk about that. It was at a party.
That's a keeper to yourself, or there, my friend.
Well, she didn't see me. I saw her. She didn't see me, but
that's
I saw
exactly
her.
why it's the keeper.
You
Uh,
know, bro.
certain people in the military organization know how to wear a lot of different hats. We'll just leave it at that. They
Yeah.
know they
Look,
we can be business professional when we need to be, and we can be a lot of other things too.
hey, speaking of which, hey, y'all got y'all always know who got a good Jody story. And for
Oh my
yours,
God.
actually, all right, even before then. So when Coach did the little flippy thing like that, for y'all who don't know who may be watching, he was talking about the drill sergeant. They do this little flippy thing where they kind of flip their head and it go on the top of their head and it look cool as I don't know what. I wanted to be a drill sergeant, but due to some prior things in my records,
See, what had
so I was
happened
like,
was,
nah, I don't think you shouldn't really be doing that. You know what I'm saying? But y'all got a Jody story? I know I got one.
Uh,
Everybody's got Jody stories, bro. Come on.
yeah,
If you were in the military longer than 5 minutes, you knew somebody was fucking some. Sorry,
yeah.
I always cuss on your
No, you
podcast. I
good.
apologize.
hey,
Hey,
No,
it's
you
real.
good.
hey, this ain't TikTok, bro. You're
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
But
This ain't TikTok.
there's always somebody sleeping with somebody. There was always somebody that wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing. God rest his soul. Friend of mine, Donald Purefoy, passed away a few months back. He was an NCO and was sleeping with a soldier, and the brass came to him and was like, "Hey, you guys either got to break up or get married." So he married her, and then
Mhm.
that didn't work out because the second that dude went to Korea, she went back to sleeping with whoever she could find.
Mm.
And I'm not going to name names, but some of y'all been around the military long enough to know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's just the Jody stories are played out. What we
Yeah.
need to talk about is who was actually loyal.
Ah, that's a good one.
Mm.
Like who
I
those
think we
people need
stumped
to
everybody.
those people need to be celebrated. Like we need to erect statues out in front of military installations or whatever. Like, hey, this dude deployed for 18 months in 2008, and his wife didn't fuck anybody else. Congratulations. By the way, you gave me permission to cuss.
Yeah,
Hey, all things are true.
yeah,
I
man.
think one of the biggest one we always hear is about, the dude that deploy and the wife take his money. You know what I mean? I heard that one that happened, the first deployment, my first deployment in '05. And
The
the
hell
dude,
that happens with
yeah,
people that's not even in the military. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So that's like it doesn't hit different just because somebody's wearing a uniform. You know what I
I
mean?
told him, I was like, bro, you good. I'm
Yeah,
like, she got you within the first 2 months.
man.
I'm
Look,
like, you winning. I'm like, cut your loss. I said, today, go down to finance, switch your account and get you a whole new account and get your direct deposit, go to a different account. You know what I mean? He did that. And I was like, bro, you better be glad she got you after I think like 6 weeks versus getting you after the whole 12 months. You know what I mean?
man. I think my most memorable moments about the military is always like that one or two soldiers that has like this unbelievable perspective that they came in with that somebody sold them, before they got to the unit. And that was kind of like my experience when I went to Korea because uh, OIF was already ongoing. I had already deployed with Fort Stewart and Third ID, and then I got back and then I reenlisted to go to Korea. So I go to Korea in '04, and that striker brigade that they ended up sending to Carson, they didn't know. Like there was a whole bunch of soldiers that thought that they was about to go home and leave Korea.
Them
and then
unrealistic expectations.
boy, unrealistic expectations. I'm telling you, like
I
we've
would have had them too.
man, look, you imagine being 10 months in Korea and like let's say you didn't take leave because you wanted to leave in 10 months and 2 days, and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, this unit you guys going to go get trained to go operate strikers, and you're in Korea and they want you to go fight in what I'm saying, a coin battle space. But what I'm saying, you've been over here trained to fight a level of a Cold War, you know what I'm saying, when you talk about, the DMZ, they have no idea. The worst duty station for a first term soldier is Korea. Because they
Facts,
don't,
facts.
man, that is the worst duty station for a first term soldier. You got somebody that's fresh out of basic training, AIT, and got a little money, and it's so bad over there that they got in the welcome briefing, don't get married inside of 6 months. You know what I'm saying, to the locals. Like it's kind of like
To the locals.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, like the Filipinos that's
The
over there,
juicy girls. Just
the
call
juicy,
it like it is.
yeah, the juicy
Good
girls.
cook.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what it
Hey,
is, you know.
that's
And
it.
hey, all things are
Okay,
true.
All things are
hold
true.
on, man. You cannot say that name and not provide clarity. I'm sorry, because I know right now somebody has went way off in left field. The only reason they're called Juicy Girls is because when the soldiers go to the club, the only thing they can drink is juice. That's it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I clear that.
Yes. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you, coach. You know what I'm saying?
appreciate it.
So like you going into a place where there's a lot of immature, you know what I'm saying, youth with a lot of money for the first time that they've ever possessed, and a market that ain't telling them no. Nobody's gonna tell you no in Korea until they do. So you deal with a lot of reckless teenagers, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes when I say teenage, I'm talking about some of these soldiers still be 18 and 19, and fresh out of the house. So worst duty station, you know what I'm saying, for a first termer. But like you got a chance to see how rapidly things could change for people that go in with no concept of how vicious the world really is, to what I'm saying, being on the battlefield very quickly, and then dealing with the traumas that come after that too, because surviving, what I'm saying, the other side of it and trying to be normal or whatever, that's relative for the individual too. So yeah, Korea gave a lot of like different delusions, I tell you that.
I agree with you, Vic. I see it. It's two ways though. I've seen Korea can be the worst duty station for a first termer, or it could be the best duty station for a first termer. Because I have seen some soldiers go over there and they really learn their job. Because let's just be honest, unless you're looking to get in trouble, the only thing you really got is camaraderie and work. And so through camaraderie, you actually learn a different echelon of the work that you're supposed to be doing. So I've seen some guys come out of Korea, man, and they really learn their job, and then go to different duty stations, leaving Korea, and literally excel. But I do agree that it's a large proportion of first termers that end up making it their worst duty station. And the part that for me that I've observed is that those young soldiers who don't understand personal responsibility. And because they don't really understand personal responsibility, mama and daddy may have coddled them a whole lot when they was young, and then now they want them to learn some responsibility. So let's just pawn them off to the military, right? And they don't realize that, yeah, it's a lot of I don't want to call it babysitting, but yes, a lot of babysitting. But at the end of the day, when we pull a plug, it's a wrap. You're gone, and that's just really what it is. And so those people struggle because they got to make their own beds. They got to make sure that they're where they need to be on time, actually before the time that they're supposed to be there. They got to, just be responsible for themselves. And so those people, what I've seen, especially in Korea, they struggle simply because nobody's going to tell you that, hey, you didn't have too much to drink. Time for you to go to your room and go to sleep. No. You're going to drink your three, and if you go out to the Ville, you're going to drink what you can afford, and maybe somebody going to tell you that you're the hottest young man that they've seen in a long time, which is the same thing they told the last 10 dudes that been through that same booth. You know what I'm saying? And so you're going to end up drinking until curfew, and then you're going to go back, and you got a massive hangover, and you can't make it to where you're going to get to. So personal responsibility is huge, especially in locations like Korea.
And you don't have a car, so you're gonna drink more You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have
Yeah,
to worry
yeah.
about driving, So you're gonna have that crazy taxi ride and you know what I'm saying, in Korea. Hey, Bali. You know what that means. You know what I'm saying?
Don't do it.
hey, what's
Don't do
some
it.
I kind of want to go into what Vic kind of started with, and then Coach kind of went a little bit more, but maybe some of the values, that either men or what were some of the value, what were some of the takeaways, good, bad habits, whatever that you may have gotten, from the military that you may still use today.
Let me jump in on that if I
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
So, Junior, you were with me in my last duty station, and uh,
yeah,
kind of look at things like a culmination, right? So, I left the Army to go to the FAA. The FAA was dragging their feet. I needed a job, and I actually ended up. I got a contract position in Saudi Arabia. And for any video gamers out there, that was like the culmination of like fighting the big boss. Because the company that I went to work for, Vanilla Arabia, was a subsidiary of Northrop Grumman, was run by a lot of retired military people. So now I'm playing by military rules with civilian consequences. And it was that I did a lot of growing up in the year that I was in Saudi Arabia. Um, so the value, like it took everything that I'd learned in the military and kind of tested that metal. uh, you know, can you get up? Can you get up? Can you be there on time? If you're not there on time, it's chicken or fish. This company would literally fire people for anything. And yeah, you can have alcohol, but can you handle your alcohol? Because if something comes back to the brass, it's chicken or fish. You're on a plane, and those are your menu options, chicken or fish. And that was like the running theme the entire time that I was in Saudi Arabia. It was like, oh, if you get caught doing that, it's chicken or fish. If you get, if this happens, then it's chicken or fish for you. But yeah, that the moving from North Carolina to Saudi Arabia at the tail end of my military, or at the culmination of my military career, and then doing that contract job was like, there was a lot of real hardcore similarities to what I had in the military without consequence. But now here in Saudi Arabia, there's consequences, like long-term consequences. They're not going to write me up. I may screw my employment options in this career field for eternity if I do something bad here. And that was, like I say, that's probably the strongest move I made, not realizing it at the time. I just, like, hey, they're offering me a shit ton of money to go over there, so let's go get that money. But I learned so much more about myself and about the things that I'd learned, and I grew an appreciation for the time that I spent in the military, and the time that I spent in the military, or the people that I spent time in the military with, and the things that they tried to teach me, and the things that they tried to show me, whether intentionally or inadvertently. But when I came back home after that year tour or whatnot, I really, really had a deep seated. Uh, um, it was almost like missing a family member that had died. When I came back, like that's how I felt about my time in the military. Like somebody had passed away, and I was missing them.
Dang. So were you kind of saying, that when you was in Saudi, you had to kind of play by like big boy rules, or like, wasn't nobody gonna hold your hand, but if you do something, no questions asked, you out of there. Is that pretty much how it was?
Exactly. It's I was like
So,
all
so
the
so the discipline or whatever you may have learned in the military was worked well for you over there. Because
absolutely.
had you been just a regular civilian, you probably would have stepped on it.
No, they if I had been a regular civilian, I'd have, some of the stuff that company would have tried to do, we'd have made way too much noise about. The company
Mm.
for sure violated, employment contracts, and they did all this other kind of stuff, and that's why they hire military. But
They just want to get paid.
had I not been military, and been used to, like, you got to stay late, you got to do this, you got to do that. Had I grown up and really grown up in the civilian market, I might have made a lot more noise about certain things that happened. But that overcomes you, and you're like, no, mission first, duty first, get this thing done, do this thing right, and provide for those around me, to the left and the right. And uh, without that, like say it was just Saudi Arabia would have been way different had I went straight there from my civilian life. If there would have been a situation where I could have went from my civilian life to Saudi Arabia as opposed to going from my military life to Saudi Arabia, I think there would have been two drastically different outcomes. And I wouldn't have had the successes there that I had it not been for the military. I wouldn't have the successes that I have in my life now had it not been for the military. The military teaches you how to be comfortably uncomfortable. And with your business, and I always bring it back to business, and I'm sorry, but as a business owner, there are things that you have to do that are uncomfortable. And the military trained me to be comfortable while uncomfortable, and to see something through. It doesn't fit a time parameter. Get it done. It matters. End of statement.
I would add, and I agree with everything he just said. For me, the values that I think I got from the military kind of fall into a couple of different categories. First and foremost, I would say the military taught me how to value people. And, we got to the point that we developed camaraderie with people from all walks of life, from different states, different backgrounds, things of that nature. And we bonded. We found a way to bond with people, even if for whatever reason initially we didn't like each other, we figured it out. So valuing people is one of the biggest things that I got from the military. And then secondly, after the whole valuing people thing, it kind of got after the whole concept of leadership. And so for me, that was huge because I really lean, going to the NCO Academy, having to be a subject matter expert and teach leadership, back in the days of be no do. So those things started resonating with me and I started finding joy into it. Then I kind of tapped into the system of leadership. And if you don't know, the Army has the blueprint that most Fortune 500 companies adopt when it comes down to developing leaders. And so when we teach it, especially today when I teach it from the perspective of the build of how the Army created their leadership development plan. And just being honest, I kind of adopted that same model because it works. It makes perfect sense. And so leadership became one of those things that were like just huge for me because ultimately all of us being in the military, we got to the point to where we lead soldiers, and you want to get to the point of leading a person not because they're intimidated by the fact that you outrank them or anything of that nature. You want to lead a person through the lens of your character. You want them to follow you simply because of who you are. So that was the other piece of it. And then lastly, it taught me the value of mentorship. I believe I developed some of the best relationships that I still have in my life today from the military. And most of them is because they mentored me at some point in time in my career. And, we still kind of stay connected. So those three things, right? Valuing people, leadership, and mentorship.
The My favorite quote about about leadership is the ability to get people to do what you want them to do, not because you want them to do it, but because they want to do it. And uh, that's absolutely true, and I don't disagree with anything that you said. But just to kind of carry back to the Saudi Arabia thing, Saudi Arabia did nothing to develop my leadership abilities. Saudi Arabia had everything to do with my individual accountability.
Discipline.
It was like I was in a group of individuals, a large group of individuals, and it was way different than anything I'd ever seen. It was wild for sure, and I don't regret a moment there.
So, I think that in my experience, if I had to sum it up, what I took from it, um, definitely networks, huge networks, huge resources, uh, supremely talented pool of people that all have a skill. Like that's one thing about like the military, and the networks that you create out of it, when you know what the other people in your network do, and if you understand like how you're structured individually, business wise, um, because I agree with Dustin, things come back to business for me too. Then you can figure out who fits that missing space, like in your structure. Like we've had plenty of conversations, what I'm saying, about how we see ourselves internally when we start talking about organizing and how we get, what I'm saying, our conversations that need to be had. And even the way we conduct our meetings, right? So down to the way that we express ourselves in our at an intellectual level, we have all obtain some level of success, and it's a lot of people that's accomplished in their own space that don't need anybody else's help for real. You know what I'm saying? Like if they wanted to go off on their own and do their own thing and figure it out, they could. We're some self-sufficient people. But the thing that you get about working in a space with camaraderie and then sharing ideas that you couldn't act on due to policies and stuff before, and now we don't have those restrictions. We got enough code in between of all of us to see the value in bringing what we know to the table into the fight, because we all still recognize there's still a fight that's ongoing to some degree. We all have a pet peeve that we want to do our part in, like fixing it for somebody else or whatever. We want to add value. We still people of service, and it's nice to feel that connection, because a lot of people don't move in a space where they're thinking about the fellow man or either their community. You know what I'm saying? So taking that leadership experience that we all are sharing, and what I'm saying, on some level, to like that's the code part of it. It's a lot of stuff that we don't have to explain, and sometimes I have to stop and listen and think about the person that's hearing the conversation and get them to take their like I got to take myself out of it. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty of it, and giving somebody else a perspective on the military from this aspect versus maybe the different versions that we saw, growing up, because I was told you don't join a white man's army, you know what I'm saying? But I had an individual experience that, what I'm saying, it made me look at things differently. It was like, well, what are you offering me that what I'm saying, that's better than what I'm getting over here, you know? And then when you start seeing that and how it applies and how it affects our community, you got to rethink, what I'm saying, where can we consolidate and actually bring some intellectual firepower to the discussion about solving our problems, And so I've seen plenty of professionalized black men that have, what I'm saying, joined the military and been able to, stand up businesses and run organizations. And just like you identified before, plenty of Fortune 500 companies will sit back and copy the Army structure and just put their own pieces in play. So if we have to do business in, what I'm saying, in a capitalistic society, I think we should be structured in a way where we can take full advantage of it. So the military, what I'm saying, enhanced my relentlessness, what I'm saying, for real.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, KD, where you at? Appreciate you joining in.
I'm here, bro. How you guys doing, man?
Hey, this is my guy right here.
I'm doing
This
some
guy,
family stuff, man. But I come in to always support
yeah,
my guys, man, and just tuning in. So love what you guys are doing on here, man, for real.
yeah. What you got on the topic, man? Hey, look, me and KD was just at my wedding. You know what I mean? So last month, appreciate
Great
you
way.
in public for coming out. Um, me and him, we've been knowing each other since '04, so 18 years. So me
Yeah,
and this
man.
dude got some history. We go way back.
No, I was just listening to Coach and to Dustin talk, and they made some great points. Um, they were talking about so I think Coach had just talked about um, mentorship, right? Having a mentor, finding a mentor, things of that nature, and that to me, I think was the biggest thing that I've learned throughout my time in the military. It was one of the things where, as a matter of fact, to Garfield,
right? Because that to me is my mentor. Like I look to him. Like when we linked up, I was at a time in my military career where I was young, fresh in, and didn't know which way I was going, coming or going. And he kind of he always gave me tough love, right? Love, but tough love. Sometimes I didn't want to hear it, uh, and that was cool. But once I got through it, I carried that with me, and I was able to pass that along to other people. Those are things that I always look back on in my time in the military, and I always, kind of take with me. So the point you guys are making, man, I'm not going to talk too long. I just kind of wanted to chime in, man, and give you guys y'all flowers, man, because I think Vic, you said something too, man. That it goes back to business. Dustin was talking about it too. You use every model that you in the military and you apply it outside of the military, and people don't understand why a lot of military personnel or former military personnel, if they have done the right thing and taken everything that they applied, they will always be successful in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's just strategically planned. We don't know it when we come in as privates or whatever the case may be, but when we exit, we always have a skill set that sometimes we don't even know we have until it's time to apply it. You know what I mean? And so those are things that I'm taking away from you guys' show. Like I said, I just wanted to chime in, man. I'm not going to talk too long. I'm doing family stuff right now, but I had to come in and just again give you guys y'all flowers, man.
Hey man, appreciate you, man. You can
No
always
doubt,
hop in. You always can
no
hop
doubt,
in.
no
Yeah.
doubt, man,
Thank
All
you
no
for
right,
the
doubt.
man.
kind words, KD. Thank you. Pleasure
Sure.
to meet you.
Hey, good seeing you again, man.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Hey, we got to get back together, man. That's off topic though, but
Yeah.
we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right, now.
All
All
right,
right, man.
man.
Y'all
I
take.
Later.
appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my guy
Like,
right
and
there.
that's what I'm talking about, like the networking. Like even when I came out to your wedding, that was a fusion of everything you had experienced, you know what I'm saying, in the military. Me and KD the first time, and then like everybody speaking at your what I'm saying, at your reception and everything. You and the sales reception. So like they spoke of 30 years of friendship, 30 years of, like just covering a wide span of life changing events, you know what I'm saying, ups and downs. And like you don't get, what I'm saying, that type of fidelity in relationships, unless you've shared some sort of experience together, positive, negative, whatever, what I'm saying, just a mixed bag of it, so you get a good snapshot of the well-rounded individual that, what I'm saying, that you call a friend versus somebody that you could just pick up the phone and call, even y'all ain't even on the same sheet of music sometimes, uh, that's, what I'm saying, that's code in itself.
Yeah.
I will say
Absolutely.
this. I want to have a mushy moment for a second,
Man,
Junior.
Go ahead.
I One of the things that kind of always circles back and bothers me about myself is that I didn't have the ability to look at life through different optics at the time that you and I had interacted in the military, and I really feel like I did myself a disservice by not having the ability to look at you as a mentor and look at you as a leader. I saw you as an obstacle, and that, by and large, for me, I feel like it was a huge failure on my part, and I owe you an apology for that.
Code, man. Hey, I owe you one too, man. And I'll do it public as well, man. I didn't, that was a hard time for me too. Um and dang. So yeah, there was a challenging time, and I want to apologize to you too, man, because even if it wasn't anything more than a negative thought that I may have had towards you, you know what I mean? Because it was hard. It was really hard being in that situation, and I did take some of that frustration out on you. You know what I mean? And it wasn't fair. Um, and I don't have any, what I mean, I'm glad that we're sitting here and we were able to talk about it and we were able to push past that. And it goes right back to the topic. What value did you get? Like, you can meet people and y'all don't always have to agree. You know what I mean? And that's okay. It's always going to be obstacles in a way, whether it be a person, whether it be a subject or a class or a course or anything. There's always going to be an obstacle. But like I said, one thing about the Army is that you do have a network. You do meet people, and because you have similar and shared experiences, you understand. Like no matter what, me and Kavanaugh, we understand what we went through, and we understand, what was going on at that time. You know what I'm saying, and we understand why it was hard for both of us. I mean, we both was in in some positions that we both was having a hard time with, and we probably both took some of that frustration and anger out on each other. So like I said, man, I appreciate you.
Unjustly, and I said some things to you at one point in time that I never should have. I never should have came out of my mouth.
Hmm. But we good now, though. You know what I mean? We got code, and this is probably a good time for somebody else to say something. Um,
Yes, please.
my mic.
Anybody else speak? Anybody? Antoine, how you doing down there,
Yeah,
buddy?
come on, Antoine. Hey, get in. Come on, get in. This is the longest I am shocked that Antoine. I don't even have the words. I can't believe.
What do you want me to say? It's not my area of. I have no experience. Like I said, my homework that I've done on the subject, knowing we're going to talk about it, was based on why people join and what I recommended to kids to join today. Yeah, if you're lost and like Chris, remember Christopher was saying you didn't have any mentors or you didn't have anybody to depend on, and I would say join. I would say and put yourself in the best position to learn a lot. Because if you don't have any of that leadership, where are you going to get it from? You ain't getting it at home if it's not solid. So I would recommend, these kids today, some of them need that guidance. If it was up to me, if it was up to me, all the kids in foster care I'd put into the army.
That I don't know about that one.
I would give them some sort, because a lot, like you guys are talking about basic camp. That's where you meet friends. That's where you learn a lot. That's where you see a lot. These kids are just at home in a foster care home, not even being loved or being taken care of. Some of them wander at night, jump out of the window, go do their thing, and the system is not as good as it is, right? So for me, I'm like, why not? I'm the same guy that would say, everybody in the army, everybody in the jails that's doing life, put them in the front line, but don't give them a gun. But the best way to build a man is to break him down and build him back up.
Hey,
Those
Coach, go get it. Coach, go get it.
They're the ones you use. If you want to know there's a landmine in front of you, send them out.
Hey man, I'm just saying.
I'm being honest with you.
Speed bumps, huh?
Listen,
put them on the front line. No guns.
Antoine will get us banned from YouTube one day. Antoine will be the cause. Antoine will be the reason I'm gonna get my channel.
Antoine is the head of Treadstone.
Instead of paying taxpayer dollar, put them in the front line. The best way to break them, you got to break them down. You got to build them back up.
I see the theory behind it though.
Antoine would be that commander that be standing on the carpet like, now why did you put him out there without a weapon? Well, it sounded like a good idea, sir. No, it didn't.
I would I said in my second life, if I ever come back, I'm coming back as a jet pilot because I'm just so fascinated by them, right? But
what's so fascinating about jets?
You know what? I just been doing a lot of research, and I have to draw one, but I've been doing a lot of research on landing on aircraft carriers, the life of being out at sea, and it just seems like something I would do, but I wouldn't have a wife at home. I wouldn't have a girlfriend at home. A life like that, like people in the army, I don't even know why they have a girlfriend at home. Like what for? Like what for?
So I can see, as odd as this may sound, I can see why Antoine says that. Mm-hmm. Just like knowing Antoine the way I know Antoine and knowing some F-15E Strike Eagle pilots, Antoine, they match. I'm telling you, listen, it's nothing but testosterone as soon as they walk in the room, brother, and it just becomes a battle of who got the most at that particular point in time.
I'm just saying, I just think that it's a great place. From what I've done, like I said, I've only read on it for a week since this topic. And it's just, I have so much respect for the people in the army. I don't care what position you hold. I just have respect knowing that you're willing to go to war or put on a suit, put on a uniform, let somebody yell at you, whatever. So guys in uniforms, I just have the utmost respect for them because you're literally giving up your life and letting somebody else rule it for a while, right? Because you're doing.
Boy, he know how to reduce it to the smallest atom, don't
I
he?
wasn't gonna say that.
I mean,
It's a little bit more than that.
it's,
But hey, coach,
it's a little bit more than that, but at the end of the day, somebody's telling you what to do, and you got to do it, right? And
I
you
mean,
get to pick
it's
it.
no
It's a
different
real
than working
job.
at Amazon.
You know,
Yeah.
Hey, coach,
for me, it's called a grunt for a reason, and that's what they were saying on in the research papers that I've read. Like, you're really a grunt, and you're working for the government. I mean, you can't say no. I'm not going to the front line. It's like, no, pick up the rifle, get your ass out there. If you lose a leg, let's hopefully we can compensate you for it. But I'm just saying, in general, I think it's a great place to learn, get structure, find that friends you need. Like, you guys all met each other some in there. Some people don't even have that, and these kids in foster care, I just feel sorry for them because they're really doing nothing with their lives, hoping to get 18 and get out. So I really have respect for the guys in the army. But I tell you, man, I would empty out the jails and put them in the front line and break them down, make them wake up at 5, feed them in just enough to survive. And you know, instead of me losing a leg, they go out and check the landmine, see if there's any there, and then you start walking.
Why not train them?
nah,
Why not train them to be super soldiers?
hey,
You can just
Antoine,
go to the perimeter.
those guys need to be digging ditches. Those guys don't need to be serving our country.
Digging ditches. You know,
If you need a ditch somewhere, those are the guys.
Those
Send
are the guys,
send the
I'm telling you.
pedophiles and the convicted
Yeah.
felons or
yeah, and
whatever.
if they end up killing each other out there, it's okay. They would have done it in prison anyways. I'm just
The
saying.
United States military is as successful as it is because it's full of volunteers, people that want to be there, that chose to be there. If you start stacking the ranks full of a whole lot of people, of a capitulated military, it's not going to last. And history has dictated that people that are forced into military service don't operate in the same way that people that want to be there.
Yeah, there's
Right.
some studies on this stuff.
But I just think it's a great place to learn leadership. I really
It
do.
is.
Yeah, I honestly
I
do.
would say, all right, and coach, you probably, I think you may have mentioned this before. I think it's a little bit different in civilian where I think in the sense civilian leadership is a little bit harder. I think because there's not always those systems and structures in place to where you can, you know what I mean, make people do things. Like in the army, like, I could be like, look, I could tell, Sergeant Kavanaugh, I could tell Dustin, hey, look, hey, until everybody get if we having a 4-day weekend, everybody gotta get their car inspected. Ain't nobody leaving until we get everybody's car inspected. And ain't nobody leaving until everybody's car get inspected. But you can't do that at school. You can't do that at Amazon. You know what I mean? So I think getting people to do, I mean, in the military, you can use regulations and force and you can do all these different things because it can't go nowhere. They can't do nothing anyway. You know what I mean? As long as it ain't unethical or immoral or anything. So um I think just being a civilian leader, I think it's a little bit harder
Yeah.
in certain areas. I won't say all of it.
No, it is. It is absolutely harder. And that's why it's gotten to the point now where we only hire prior military or current military or law enforcement. Anybody that's been through a Leo Academy, you served in the National Guard, Air National Guard, Marine Reserves, whatever the
You
case
can
is.
show up on time and come to work.
Yeah, that's you. Or for us, for my organizations, we almost exclusively hire veterans.
It's a great place to learn a skill. That's what I say. That's what I say.
It's not just a skill though. It's organizational skills.
There
Like
you go. See?
you do a lot of the project management. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when one of those like KD mentioned before he left, he said you never know when you have to tap into something, and you look up and you're already doing it, and you're like, oh man, I'm just managing a project. Like you're just starting to assemble your pieces a little bit more. And a lot of us have ran some level of projects, prior to getting out. And then that's been a very useful skill to try to bring people together, because you have to examine and inventory people's weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? And you got to account for your own in the process as well. So in that, it's what I'm saying, high time that when you look up and you got a chance to change the course of something, you already have that instinct that if something's got to get done right and it's gonna fall on somebody's shoulders, you're gonna be the one to step up. You're not gonna be waiting on nobody. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that you get is you get an instinct for accomplishing the mission first and nothing else, and seeing the value in completing the task.
You're
You
muted,
muted.
Dustin.
Sorry. Leadership starts at every level. First Sergeant Terrence Williams, another guy that I have a massive amount of respect for that I ran into in the military. He told me first, he was the first person I ever heard say it. He said, but hey, if you look out in the field and you see two privates digging a hole, one of them's in charge. And that stuck with me. So with the military, leadership starts at the lowest level. So
Oh man, it reminded me of a story. Man, when I was a private, I was like an E1, right out of basic training. First got to my unit.
Digging
I'm
ditches.
there, coach, right? Here I am in the motor pool, doing, doing nothing, standing around, right? Got a Sergeant Cooney over there doing stuff. Another sergeant over there, they dry sweeping. I'm just standing around. Ain't nobody tell me no, ain't nobody give me no orders. Ain't nobody tell me what to do. So I'm just standing there watching everybody else work. PFC came over there. PFC Swanson. PFC Swanson came over there, told me at ease, private. What? I locked up. You know what I mean? It's an E3. I'm an E1. You know what I mean? Locked me up and said, don't you ever be standing. Don't ever let me see you standing around while NCO working. You know what I mean? So like I got learned day one about leadership. Like you don't be standing around while your bosses is working. If your boss working, you working. You better find something to do. You
There
better
you
look like
go.
you busy or something. You better not be standing around.
See,
And I
that's
had learned that in the army.
what I'm talking about. That's what these kids need today, man. A good can of whoop ass. I'm down for that. You see, you should be working. These kids should be doing something. You know, if you're just twiddling your thumbs in prison, no, go find some landmines, man. Put them out there. Start walking. Start walking. Yeah, they got to be used for something
The
instead of
landmans
they
is
got to be
what
used
getting
for
me.
something instead of taking up taxpayers' dollars. They got to be used for something. Rather, like he said, digging ditches. I don't know, screwing something, bolts, nuts. I don't know, finding the bombs or something.
Antoine, you send the criminals out there to find landmines. They'll find the landmines and then figure out a way to sell them back to the enemy.
Are you kidding? They're too stupid. They probably reach down and blow themselves up and pick it up. I'm telling you, nah, man.
Antoine, you're underestimating criminal ingenuity.
They're in jail for a reason, buddy. I'm telling you.
Hey,
Don't call them
hey,
criminals for nothing.
hey, I follow a dude on TikTok. They got a whole bunch of followers, and he in jail.
There you go. Jesus.
Wow. Wow. That's all I got. Wow.
I'm just
Hey.
saying, man. We gotta find a way to.
Hey, you ever
What
seen
was,
some
what
of
was
them
that
shank-
about them criminals being stupid there, Antoine? One
Hey,
more time
hey,
for the
hey.
people in the back.
You ever seen some of them shanks they make? Bro, I've seen the prison show where I done seen dudes on there getting eyeball tattoos in jail. How you get an eyeball tattoo in jail? Everything
Hey,
happened in jail. No
hey,
thank
look, if you ever talk to somebody that's been to jail, like
Oh,
they just as resourceful in there as the military members. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point, you put a bunch of people together with a lot of different skills that has all been trained from different places. It's the same demographic. You know what I'm saying? Because like most of us were one step away from doing something that we shouldn't have been doing, and the military, you know what I'm saying, was the second to last option. So we was already doing, you know what I'm saying, going down a path where, like we were gonna have our opportunities for freedom restricted. So
I
you,
ain't
you
learned when
gotta,
I was in.
yeah, and the thing is that it's not like the military is like it it's not as controlling as a lot of people would think. It still operates in the same type of parameters. You know what I'm saying? It's got banking hours sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. You just the fact is mission dictates. You know what I'm saying? So you just coordinate your time accordingly. That's why you get leave that you earned, and you got to get your time back in some way, shape, or form. So it's not like you don't earn any time off, or like it just depends on also to the need of the skill set that you have too.
I
Mission
think
mission dictates.
I think everybody here would agree that 90% of our life in the military was pretty chill, 9 to 5, and there was about 9% of the time that you didn't want to do the things that you needed to do. And there was about 1% of the time where you earned the title soldier.
So
All things are true.
Dustin, I love you, brother, but I have to strongly disagree with that logic. And listen, I'm not saying that your story is not true in other branches.
We got different
But
MOSs too.
right, that's what I was about to say.
You 13 Fox, me and Dustin, air traffic controllers.
Right. So when you start talking like for me, because I belong to two units, I had one unit that I pretty much that was like my mother unit. So I belong to that unit. That's the unit I fell into in garrison. We did PT, regular work call. But then when it came down to like going to the field, deployments, things of that nature, other unit. And that's the unit I always went to the field with. So here's the issue. I had to go to the field with my mother unit and I had to go to the field with them at the same time because I was in an artillery battalion, but I belonged to a maneuver unit. So I had to make sure that they were certified when they shot, but then I also had to make sure that I knew maneuvers with them and make sure that we worked together and we joined them together. So I was always on the go. And what I would tell you, and again, it's nothing like I'm telling you, like when I came here to Fort Gordon, this is a whole nother world. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my, like this is nice. Like I didn't even realize that the army was like this. Drill sergeants were just laid back, calm, cool, and collective. I'm looking at soldiers that got beards look like mine. It's like seriously, I've never seen this before. But where I'm from, the army was totally different. That's the front line, boss. Like this is where the gun line was at. And so we didn't have the opportunity, nor that we have the desire to play around with the standards, to play around with the standards in which we had to establish and maintain. Because once those standards slip, something tragic could happen. I'll say it
Yes.
that way.
Somebody's life on the line at all
Right.
times.
And what to kind of clarify, a lot of it was basic operations, right? Duties performed under our job requirements. Then you had that small percentage of the oh shit, we gotta move, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And then you had that very slim line of like do or die. We do this or we die. So that's all I was saying. But I understand that everybody's depending on MOS workload and things like that. Like at Bragg, I had a neighbor who was a infantry in 173rd, and they basically made that man live in the field the entire time he was stationed at Fort Bragg. He'd spend 18 to 26 days at a time in the field. He'd get to come home and see his family, take a shower, and head back to the field.
No thanks. I don't want to do that. Hey, we don't have too much longer left. I want to close up with kind of sort of what was your, real quickly, your worst duty station, and then what was your best duty station. I would say I'll start with my worst, honestly, probably was Fort Bragg. That was my last duty station. And it was just I had so many high expectations for Fort Bragg because I wanted to go there since I was a private, and I had some NCO always telling me about going to Fort Bragg and being airborne and all these things. So that was just my probably the the hardest transition or the hardest duty station was Fort Bragg. And probably my best one was probably in teaching ROTC over at NC State. That was the best one. And that was great. I love that job. Those are my two.
Worst, I'd probably say, for geography sake and mission sake, Fort Stewart. Like, but for the people that I met, that enhanced my life. You know what I'm saying? I met a lot of great people in my life down there. So that's the trade-off because you're not gonna get all three of them. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get people, duty station, and a good mission too. So sometimes you go to a place where the mission ain't that cool, but the people are. You get something from it. Best duty station, probably say Fort Hood. For not even the geography, it was the opportunities that I had a chance to work in. So like after I reclassed and I went to MI, I went to 4ID first and worked in the G2, and then after my time in the G2, I went over to 3 Corps and went to the G2 there. So got a different chance. I got a different perspective of how the Army moves you know what I'm saying, personnel, how it fights and the way it plans and stuff, and saw a very, very good strategic angle of it all. You know what I mean? So it gave me, you know, another view of how command and control really, really works.
Worst duty station, Fort Stewart. Best duty station, Korea.
Worst duty
He just
station.
led Korea and just left it.
Worst duty station, Fort Rucker. Best duty station, Fort Rucker. Best duty station because of all the sex that I had there. Worst duty station because of all the sex that I had there. So it's a double-edged sword right there, my friends.
Man, that's crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, it is what it is, man. Antoine, what you got for us? We about to shut it down, brother.
I truly believe, like, I was thinking about this as I said it. First of all, I stand by everything I said about it, and I truly believe if you all the people that are in prison doing life, they got nothing better to do but the four walls they live in. I really believe, man.
Zoom in on him. Zoom in on him right now.
I really believe you take him out. You take all of them out, and you put him on an island. And the ones that want to stab each other, this, that, let them go for it. They're in a cage anyways. After the death has calmed and the bodies have passed away, and you take what's left. And you rebuild that man. You tell him when to eat, sleep, and shit. What? Till he's broken. Till he has nothing left to think about but the guy that's next to him. If the guy next to him lives, he lives. If the guy next to him dies, he dies. Then after that, after all that, when you broke his soul, when the man has nothing left to live for but that breadcrumb the next morning, you put him in the front lines. And you tell him straight up, if you walk through that landmine, you'll see freedom. If you don't, you're right back where you started. I'm telling you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been real. It's been fun. That's Mr. Antoine. All things are true.
There you go.
We out. We'll see y'all next week.
Tell